Let's see. Coming up. Not coming up yet.
I just got the notification, so.
Okay, good. Yeah, I see it up.
Cool.
Okay, my guys. Thank you for coming. Quincy is not here yet, but he should be here any moment. That's the hope. That's the dream. I talked to him yesterday. I talked to him earlier, and he said that he was coming. He might be running a little bit late. I think things do happen. As I would say, shout out to all of you that reach out to me. My baby girl is getting better, so thank you for that. Oh, I see him popping up. But before I introduce him, I have my boy here with me, Mr. Joe Nubo. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing today? Glad to be here. Glad that Sonny was able to, hoping everything is fine with him. Of course, like I told him, family comes first. That's what's important. So he knows that support is with him all throughout, and I'm sure from you guys as well. So
I do appreciate that, guys. Now, the guest that we have here, he's a Clowns fan. But I have to say, I love my boy Q. He's awesome. We met last summer. Dude is good. We usually don't trash talk each other that much unless we're in a video together. So anyway, check it out. He's my boy Q.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Oh, Quincy in the house.
How you are, bro?
What's up, Joe? First time we're interacting on the video format. We always
Yep.
on Twitter.
Should be
Sonny,
fun.
I'm kind of a regular here, huh?
Yeah, you are. I'm surprised that you have a Penguins jersey.
Oh, I went to school in Youngstown. It's like an hour away from Pittsburgh, and I didn't care about hockey till I was grown. And you know what? For once in my life, I'm not going to choose the miserable franchise. That's
Okay, so guys, you can leave comments. We'll put comments throughout for Quincy and any question you guys have. I would say, obviously, you guys know there's lines not to be crossed. You can trash talk. Quincy can take it. Quincy will trash talk you back. It's so fun and games. Now, this is how I want to start, Quincy. Right. I'm going to start with a video that happened on week 9 in this channel. So that's how we're going to start, and then we go in from there, okay?
All right, let's do it.
Sounds like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Let's see how this thing can...
We should have brought everybody else too, man.
That would be a hell of a stream.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
Tony never feels his friend.
Can't hear it, Sonny.
You can't hear it?
Nah.
Neither of you can hear it?
This is me telling the whole world that the Browns are going to sweep the second half of their schedule, I think. It's very entertaining. It's a good promo.
It is. That's what I wanted to put, but you knew what you said. Classic. You cannot hear it on the stream?
Did you put the share audio option?
Hopefully it did.
That might be why.
Yeah, make sure it's sharing audio. It's the same as your driver for your
mic speakers.
When you go to share screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that for a moment. Let's read again. It says some screen. Look for the share audio checkbox on the Windows. Okay.
Yeah. So there's like a little box at the bottom left corner that you have to check, and then.
Okay. So let me do this. Share audio. Okay, I got it. Cool. It now. Okay. So.
All right.
They got no running back. They need to trade for Le'Veon today.
It's my boy.
5-11 for Steelers. I'm gonna go 5-11 now. 5-11. They're gonna taste mediocrity, and they're not even gonna have to pick the Warriors.
This is beautiful.
We're talk about the top of the AFC North.
Look at this. Look at this.
This isn't something that is, a lot of people are going to foresee. This is something people are going to be like, hey, Quincy, this is a smart take by you. Quincy, this is going to be a take for people who are like, oh, Quincy, you're just a fan. But I'm not using my fan vote here. I'm using my football brain. The Browns played the second worst schedule in the NFL. They just got done playing the second hardest schedule in the NFL. It's like here's what this is like. If you have played the best teams in the NFL, playing against the worst teams, it's going to feel a lot slower. It's going to go a lot easier. Things are going to work a lot better. You're going to be able to execute. And for what it's worth, the Browns have been able to execute. They just been playing teams so good that they didn't have to march the error to get away with it. So I think the Browns are going to have a healthy stretch of wins here. I think they're going to go undefeated in the month of November. They got to. Hey, they almost went undefeated in November. By December. And I think by the time they play the Baltimore Ravens, the Browns will be, 9-5? No, 9 and 9-5. 9-5. And the Ravens. Oh yeah,
you can see the agony on Tony.
And Tony knew.
Tony, baby, we gonna look at the schedule now.
They beat the Broncos this week. I mean, I'm not even sure they beat the Broncos this week.
All right, well, pause it really quick.
Allen during this stream, he might get you guys.
Go ahead, man.
Okay, so, let me say Quincy, because I know this is gonna be a bunch of people are gonna be on you, but let me tell you, I actually did have the Browns before the season going 10-6, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. I was believing the hype as well. I'm like, you know what? The Browns, they got a good team. They might actually be able to make some noise finally. And I did have you guys starting off slow as you guys did. I think I had you guys starting off like 1-5 or something, but then you would turn it around and then end up winning 9. But obviously that just has not happened. So
and to be fair to Quincy, I did also 10-6, and in this video, which we're not gonna play the whole thing, I thought you guys were gonna sneak into the playoff, not as winning the division, but sneak into the playoffs, and I thought the Steelers were gonna be out. I don't think the Steelers are gonna be out at this point, but that was what I thought. Anything you want to say so far?
About this whole rant here.
Yeah.
Look, obviously I got carried away. I did think they were going to finish 10-6 at that point. I thought they would be able to cobble things together, but I didn't know the level of mess that the entire locker room and coaching staff was at that point. I was obviously optimistic about the future of those things kind of getting together. But, as the weeks have gone on, it's proven that the Browns' problems have been more severe than things that can just be adjusted during the season, which has, created this situation where I think the Browns really do have a strong possibility of finishing 6-10 this year.
Regressing from last year.
Yeah, getting worse. The offensive line, I've said this in August, for anybody who's watched my channel. I said all of the attention was going to be on Odell. All the attention is going to be on the shiny parts on the offense, right? Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, David Njoku. But the one matchup that I thought everybody ought to watch during the training camp season was the offensive line. Can they hold their own? Now, in training camp, they did hold their own. I didn't know how bad this defensive line was without Myles Garrett. Apparently, they're one of the worst things on planet Earth. I'm serious. People think I'm being hyperbolic. The Browns' defensive line has been one of the worst things since Myles Garrett has been gone in football I've seen in the last decade. It's been like, look at who has dominated the Browns and look at the offensive lines that have done that. It's not an impressive accumulation of guys. This is Cincinnati with Cordy Glenn and the Arizona Cardinals missing a starting right tackle, I think, that week. So it's been bad for that defensive line. And that's a defensive line that they were normally competing against because they don't let Myles loose in training camp because he just destroys the confidence of whoever he's going to play against. But, I thought the offensive line was going to be fine. So I felt like the team was going to be fine. But apparently the offensive line was not. And that's really been one of the things on top of many other things that have really kneecapped this team from the start.
So, sorry, Sonny, to interrupt.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So I'm curious because I'm actually very interested to hear about like all these things that's going on with the Browns team because they're very interesting to me. I love just watching what's going on here, obviously. But I'm sure you've talked about this on your channel before, and sorry if I've missed it. But do you think that all these commercials did actually have an effect on Baker? Or do you feel like that's overblown?
I think the commercial aspect is overblown. I think it's a symptom of the real problem. I think Baker kind of felt like this was going to come easier than it was going to have to come. And I think, you know, in the off season, you know, that kind of subconsciously affects how you prepare yourself. I know in situations where I know I'm going to have to be probably like 110% in order to get 80% out of a situation, you know, I'm going to naturally work harder, whether I'm aware of it or not. You know, when you're in a situation where you feel like, oh, it's easy, you know, I could chill out. Like I use, and not saying Baker Mayfield's LeBron, but use LeBron as a comparison. One of his worst seasons was when he was like, hey, I got Chris Bosh and I got Dwayne Wade on the same freaking team with me. I can chill out a little bit. I don't have to be the dude carrying Sasha Pavlik. I got other guns with me. So, you know, subconsciously, I think that does have an effect on a young player, especially when you're getting all the attention that you're getting. You know, you're on GQ, you're on Sports Illustrated, you know, you have the progressive commercials. You start to think to yourself, I made it. I have arrived. And, you know, it does have an effect on the preparation. But I think the problems with Baker Mayfield, or the Baker Mayfield problems, kind of been the smallest thing that's been wrong with this team. I think if you look at the crossroads, I think that happened in the season, right? And we're all aware of it, week 4. That's when the Browns beat down the Baltimore Ravens at home. Sonny, you were there for it. Shout out to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but after that game, our seasons went in 2 completely different ways, because after that game, the Browns played Monday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers, had all that confidence, felt good about their team, felt good about their game plan, and got smacked by one of the best defenses in the NFL and never recovered. They never looked the same. They never had the same mojo. Even when they played better, they never looked as good as they did against the Ravens. And then the Ravens, they had their moments, you know, the fight between Brandon Williams and Earl Thomas. And, you know, before that week, Earl Thomas was like consistently week to week putting out these little quotes out there that were like,
still does.
And it felt like the Ravens decided, okay, let's make some changes. Let's do some things that are going to help this team in the locker room. And let's also, you know, band together and do what championship teams do, which is adjust. Which is why the Ravens are the Baltimore Ravens. They are able to do those things. That's what separates good franchises from bad franchises. And right now, the Browns aren't a good franchise. When that crossroads came for them, they did the same thing they did in the offseason. They felt like it's going to be easy. We beat one of the best teams in the NFL at home by 20. You know, like we about to walk into San Francisco and beat them down. This whole season is going to be cake from here on. And it went to the doo-doo shutters, you know, and for the Baltimore Ravens, they felt like the Browns just beat us at home. They're a good team, you know, at the time thinking they're a good team, but they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
What do we have to fix? They made the changes, and they haven't lost a single game since that point, you know, and I think that's really the crossroads. If you look at it from how teams handle adversity and how teams make adjustments, the Browns still have not made significant adjustments since that Ravens game.
So I will say, Quincy, I will thank you as a Browns fan, because I feel like the Browns turned our season around. Harbaugh said, "Are we really gonna lose to these bums again?" And then it was close against Cincy, and Harbaugh was like, "My guys, Cincy's definitely a bum. The Browns have been playing horrific, and I believe after our game, you guys lost the week after that. So we have to make changes. We cannot be competitive against these bum teams. We have to." And then that's when the linebackers, we made the change in the linebackers. Peters came back. We traded for Peters. Jimmy Smith came back, and all the other changes we made. So now there's a quote that I did want to say. The Ravens are what people thought the Browns were gonna be. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's I would say part of like why I don't really I understand why a lot of Browns fans are salty with what the Ravens are doing this season, is because like if you're a Browns fan, you know the history between the two teams. One used to be the other. So like a lot of Browns fans feel like the 2000 season was stolen from them by the Baltimore Ravens. And, you know, I don't think this season was stolen from them by the Baltimore Ravens. I think it just feels weird because they're having the season everybody projected the Cleveland Browns to have, you know, the young MVP quarterback, the explosive offense, the very good the very good defense with the very good pieces. I think everybody thought that was the season that the Cleveland Browns were going to have, including Browns fans. And, it does add a little bit of a sting that it's the Baltimore Ravens who have consistently kind of like been that thing in the back of your head. Because when Pittsburgh's successful, it's just whatever. Pittsburgh, they suck. It's Pittsburgh. But when it's the Ravens, it does have that extra sting of theoretically that used to be the Browns. That could be you, even though that's a whole logical loophole to walk on down to.
Yeah, I always say that we leave the bad when the Ravens moved, they left the bad juju over there in Cleveland. That's what it was.
How I've been researching that period. It's interesting, right? Because 2000 is like when Ravens history starts. It also happens to be when they've got rid of like all of the remnants of what the Browns were moving there, like Ernest Miner, all of those guys like that were Vinny Testaverde, all the guys that were holdovers from 95 in Cleveland. It just so happens in 2000, that's when that team really became the young guys on that team's team, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and all of those guys, Jamal Lewis included. That's when it really became their team. And that's why I kind of get why the history for that team kind of starts in 2000 for that.
I wonder how the Browns look at it. I didn't put two and two together, but I know you guys are watching the NFL Top 100, and Bill Belichick was talking to Ray Lewis, and Bill said, like, the pick, you were my pick, meaning that pick that the Aussie used on you was a trade that I made when we were at the Browns.
Yeah, I'm well aware that pick was always going to be Ray Lewis. Sure, Ray Lewis could have. Here's the thing, though, about trying to project that. Bill Belichick's future was so in question at that time with the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if the team stayed in Cleveland, if anybody associated to Bill would have been in that building by 96, including Ozzie Newsome himself, because Bill's issue was that everything associated with, this is crazy to think about, but everything associated with Bill Belichick in the city of Cleveland in 1995 was kind of like how toxic anything associated to Freddie Kitchens is. People were tired of Bill. People were tired of the show. They were tired of the games. He cut Bernie Kosar. People were sick of him and everything associated with Bill Belichick. And you can see how Bill would rub you the wrong way when he doesn't have 6 Super Bowl rings. So I think that team stayed there. 95 was such a disappointment. That was another this kind of year disappointment where the Browns were supposed to be Super Bowl contenders coming off a playoff race in 94. They just broke the bank. Literally, Art Modell literally broke the bank to sign Andre Bad Moon Rising in the offseason so that team could be Super Bowl contenders. Another year where they were on the Sports Illustrated cover, no coincidence there, had Super Bowl aspirations, and they completely sucked. They went 6-10, I think, that year in 95. So I think, we can put ourselves, oh my God, because I've seen the 95 documentary. Nick Saban, Mark D'Antonio, and Bill Belichick are all on the same coaching staff. But I do have to remind people, it's very unlikely that anybody would have. I think it's better for football that Bill didn't end up getting fired in Cleveland, because I don't think you get Ozzie Newsome in the way that you got Ozzie Newsome in Baltimore as a upper level guy. Because, we know what the NFL is now and what the NFL was back then. People weren't taking chances on a guy like Ozzie Newsome. I think Bill's relationship and the respect that people in Baltimore had for Bill but knew they couldn't bring him over would allow Ozzie Newsome to take that job there as a player personnel guy. But in Cleveland, I don't think that would have ever happened.
Well, that's what's so interesting is that Bill Belichick, who many people believe is the greatest head coach of all time, many people forget he was with the Browns, and he just wasn't really, he never had the same success, which is so crazy to think about. So it goes back to the whole is it Brady or is it Belichick? Who's
he didn't know how to cheat back then. Belichick wasn't.
He wasn't cheating yet.
And it takes time, that's the only argument really with Freddie Kitchens is that, hey, it's going to take time for a head coach to become who he is. Just like it's going to take time for a young quarterback to become who he is. And I think Bill was fortunate that he was able to mature as a coach in the same time that his quarterback was able to mature, and that they are kind of a symbiotic relationship. People say, oh, it's one or the other. It's got to be one or the other. You know, and that's like that kind of thinking drives me crazy because like even if you look at it in a contemporary example like Lamar Jackson, right? It's got to be the offense or you know, it's always got to be something other than like a mutually beneficial situation in order for something to happen. So you know, it's like when we think about these things, it's like I think, you know, Bill Belichick was probably a genius. He was just probably kind of naive and more of an asshole than he is. I'm sorry if
no, you're fine, man.
He was more of an asshole than he was in the 2000s and in the 90s when he was young. Because, you know, like I'm young and I know like I'm probably going to be more kind of a douche now than I am going to be 10 years from now. I'm going to be more calm and not go on rants on live streams.
Shoot a promo.
Yeah, shooting promos and stuff. But, you know, like, you know, it just takes time for all that stuff to develop. But, you know, it's a fascinating thing, just like all things that are Cleveland. Cleveland's kind of like the freaking Twilight Zone of the NFL. So it just gets interesting.
So everybody's saying that Freddie needs to go. That's been what all the media members have been talking about. But the question is, would you be fine if you guys brought in like a Mike McCarthy, for instance, or someone that has that, you know,
or
veteran coaching?
Or do you think Freddie's actually going? Because Adam Schefter, I think, reported that you guys are not fired. There's the inclination of not firing Freddie. That's the latest that I saw. So what is the waves in Cleveland about Freddie Kitchen? And if he goes, who will you want?
By the way, congratulations. You're almost at 1,000 subscribers.
I know, man. Trying to get there.
Let's go. Let's get Sonny there, man.
All right. But with the head coaching thing, I've been trying to tell the people who watch my channel this for weeks. One, you can't just fire guys after 1 year and expect there not to be long-term consequences. That doesn't mean that you can't fire Freddie Kitchens in 1 year, but it does mean that if you decide to fire Freddie Kitchens in 1 year, knowing that you just fired a dude in 2012 after one season, you are stuck with whoever you hire for the next 3 years, whether they are awful, whether they're worse than Freddie Kitchens, whether they're bigger headaches. As a franchise, there are long-term effects to where you can't just fire another dude after 1 year, because then who's going to want to work there that has any type of future? You're going to end up hiring a bunch of Freddie Kitchens and a bunch of Zach Taylors because nobody wants to work for your franchise if they know if I don't go 10-6 in the first year, I'm fired. Like, that's not a job I would want to take. You know, so your job kind of becomes toxic in that way if you continue to fire these guys after 1 year. So that's also something that you have to consider as a franchise, whether you want to fire Freddie Kitchens. And I think the math has to go like this. One, are you 100% sure Freddie Kitchens is the problem? If you're 100% sure removing him from the building will solve some real issues on this team, you got to do it. You know, you got to just take the bullet and do it. Second thing is, I know right now Mike McCarthy and Ron Rivera are hot names for this head coaching job, right? But I don't know if they're fits. Mike McCarthy wasn't interviewed last year for a reason, because I don't think he's a great fit for this job as a personality or even as an offensive coach when his offense went stale 2 years ago in Green Bay. And, you know, the track record on coaches is when things go stale, very rarely do they end up like Andy Reid and come back refreshed. But that is a possibility that could happen. And then with Ron Rivera, everybody's shouting for Ron Rivera, but I caution people. If you think Ron Rivera in 2019 is going to step into the Cleveland Browns offense and fix that, that is not what Ron Rivera is. Oh, no. It's never who Ron Rivera was. It's not who Ron Rivera is supposed to be. Ron Rivera got fired from the Panthers because he can't fix an offense. That's just Ron Rivera. So hiring him to fix that problem kind of seems silly, and it seems like you're just hiring a guy who has experience. Now, if there's a guy out there who has experience, let's say with the offense that's been prolific for over 11 years, and he's had high coaching experience, I mean, coordinator level or above for over 11 years, with a quarterback who is, let's say, shorter than 6'2", but taller than 5'10", who has some of the similar problems when it comes to scheme and adjusting the scheme as your young quarterback, and he comes from an organization that has an impeccable reputation under a head coaching tree that has been impeccable, and under a head coach that is regarded as one of the smartest and well-prepared in the NFL, then that might be a guy worth taking on. I'm not going to say the name right here because I'm going to put a video out about it tomorrow.
Okay.
But there are guys that make sense for this job that could take over for Freddie Kitchens. The big names, the hot names, don't, unless it's Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy kind of makes sense, but anybody else, it really doesn't make sense.
Matt Nagy has a job unless he gets fired.
Yeah, unless he becomes available.
There was questions because, with how Ufbisky has looked this year and all that, but yeah, I don't think he's going to get fired. But
playoffs, something could happen in the playoff or on the lead up to it that sends a guy loose for no reason.
Two things.
We're talking about Harbaugh getting loose at this time last year.
True.
That's true. I was one of those people. Yeah.
So big one is, will you think then if you want to bring a guy like the guy that you're saying, will you have to give almost like a Gruden type of deal to that person so you can give that person that has a comfy job currently reassurance that he ain't gonna leave?
I mean, the guy who takes this job, if he's an NFL veteran, I think like if you take this job, it's under the understanding that they're gonna probably give me 2.5 years at the least, just because they know what the optics are of it. You know what I mean? So right now, like firing Freddie Kitchens and hiring his replacement, I don't think that's the problem. I think if you fire Freddie Kitchens, hire a replacement, and that guy stinks and you fire that guy too, then you have a problem for the next 20 years trying to replace that job.
Okay. So my second thing, and now I'm going to move away from the Freddie Kitchens conversation and diving in more into Ravens, and this is more to the Ravens, and then I want to dive into Browns Ravens. I have a big beef with you on one particular topic. In that video that I'm not going to play now, you said it, and the other day you tweeted about it, that a guy that I like a lot, Mr. Murray, will make the Ravens better. Or the Ravens will have a better record with Murray than we do with Lamar Jackson. I have a big problem with that statement. I think at best they'll have the best record. Let's put it like that. I think Lamar fits this team more. Lamar, I think Kyle Murray is a good runner. Kyle Murray is also, I don't even know how to say this, a shy runner, versus Lamar is more of an aggressive runner. And Lamar has been deadly. I think when we met back in last summer, I said to you, like, this is something that I was preaching. Nubo knows this throughout the whole offseason. If Lamar can get 25% better, and he got way better than 25% better, in my opinion. I mean, currently leading the league in pass and touchdown passes. But I would like for you to explain how the hell do you think Kyle Murray makes the Ravens better than Lamar? So if you swap them, he makes the Ravens better than Lamar.
Let's see. Well, at the time I did the video, I will say Lamar wasn't on this hot streak as a passer that he's on, because I originally thought he only has to be as good as Andy Dalton as a passer in order to be really dangerous in the NFL. And, once he got to that level at the beginning of this season, he did end up being dangerous. But, I think I'm not going to say that he would be any better, because I don't think it's hard to be better than what Lamar Jackson has been this season. I would say that's an easily agreeable statement. But I will say is that if Kyler Murray were able to be in the same system with similar type players around him, I think he would be an MVP candidate. I think he would be able to play really well in that system. I think a lot of the issues that Kyler Murray has is because if you watch what he's doing in Arizona, it really looks like at times they're coaching him not to use his instincts, not to run when he needs. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the Arizona-Pittsburgh game. There's a clear point where he had TJ Watt flat-footed and decided to throw the ball into 4 Steelers instead of just run that ball 2 yards, get that first down. Yep. That is the coaching. That is Cliff Kingsbury going, you're a passer, baby. You should do the quarterback thing and throw the ball and all that. And we know what kind of garbage that can be when you have a guy who's as dynamic on the ground.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think that's been the main problem with Kyler Murray that I've been seeing with him in the air raid. And I told people at the beginning of the season, people thought that this offense was going to be a great fit for Kyler Murray in Arizona because it's Cliff Kingsbury and it's an air raid. But I don't know if you guys watch a ton of college football. I do. If you do, you know that the air raid comes in many different slices. There is what Cliff Kingsbury does, which is the Mike Leach air raid, which is an extension of the run game. It's like a West Coast offense, kind of. And then there is the bear raid, which is what Patrick Mahomes does, which is what Jared Goff does, and Sean McVay, the downfield attack. You know, that's the one that opens things up. That's the air raid that Kyler Murray had success in college in Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley. The air raid he sucked in was Texas A&M. You know, when he was over at Texas A&M, he was awful at Texas A&M because he was in the wrong air raid, in the wrong offense. And I'm scared he's in the wrong offense again. I really hope they decide to fire Cliff Kingsbury and hire Greg Roman.
They can't. Look,
because they just fired Steve Wilkes.
Exactly.
They're in the Freddie Kitchens situation. You want to avoid. This is why I'm telling Browns fans. Because Greg Roman is about to come available, who would be perfect for Kyler Murray, but you hired Cliff Kingsbury after you fired Steve
Greg
Wilkes.
Roman ain't going nowhere.
For some reason, somebody in Arizona said, like, that college guy has sucked in college. I think he will be a great NFL coach. Just hire him as a.
They wanted the next Sean McVay. That's what it comes down to, right?
But they could have hired it as an OC, right? They could have bring a defensive coach minded, and then you could have said like, "Yo, can you get this guy as an OC?"
I don't know how. Hey, look, whoever Cliff Kingsbury's agent is, I want to have a meeting with them.
I know, right?
Phenomenal at their job because they convinced the NFL team that a dude who was an offensive coordinator at USC wasn't going to take an offensive coordinator job in the NFL. That is amazing to me. The semantics and skill that go involved in making somebody believe that decision is superb. Okay, but yeah, that's that for Browns fans watching this stream. Arizona Cardinals, perfect example of why you might want to slow down on firing another head coach after 1 year because they're stuck with Cliff Kingsbury. Man.
You have,
yeah,
I agree. So here's a question
out more than it already has been next year.
Yeah. Here's a question for Graham Friedman. He says, so is Quincy saying that running quarterback will succeed in the Ravens system? I think there's different types of running quarterback. I think Kyler Murray is a hell of a player. My biggest problem and what I was saying that he runs shy is, and right now he does make a lot of rookie mistakes. Like I have seen him multiple times because for some reason I watched too much Arizona Cardinals games. Him rolling out. And then for some reason, he's like, instead of throwing it away, he decides to slide for a couple yard loss so nobody touches him. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You are losing yardage. I mean, all you have to do is just flicker to the outside. You're outside the pocket. Those are rookie mistakes that he's going to correct. But second, to Quincy's point, he has a lane sometimes for him to run. There's like green.
Yeah, and they just don't go for it. And it
he doesn't do anything.
You know, and I think there are two types of quarterbacks in the NFL. Well, I think now there's going to be two types. Obviously, there's a pocket passer, but even some of the pocket passer guys, I think this fits. When we talk about running quarterbacks, we kind of lump them all together, but there's two types of running quarterbacks. There are dual threats and there are scramblers. Russell Wilson is a scrambler. He is a guy who's going to get most of his yards from the pocket when he runs. Dual threat guys are guys who are generally more dangerous on direct snaps. You know, Lamar Jackson, he's kind of a hybrid of both, but he's a lot more dangerous off of a direct snap than he is off of a scramble just because, you know, when he's back there to throw the ball, I think he's determined himself to throw the ball more than he is to run it, which makes sense. He's a quarterback. But for certain guys, I think like RG3 is a perfect example of this. RG3 is a terrible scrambler. If you ever watch like his career, awful scrambler. Great off the direct run. He's not a good guy who can juke and do all that. RG3, if he got a straight line, he can run it. That's going to be RG3 all day. But RG3, if he got to make a cut, he is one of the least athletic cutters.
Oh, and we saw that against the Jets.
Yeah,
so we know.
It looks like Big Ben trying to make a juke. Like that's where you see his 2 knee surgeries happen. Yeah. But even in college, he wasn't great at it. Yeah. You know, but a guy like Kyler Murray, the reason I say this is because I'm not going to say that Russell Wilson would have the same success that Lamar Jackson would if he were in that system because Russell Wilson is not a design runner. He's not good in that way. He's good at shaking loose. I think Kyler Murray, his true skill at Oklahoma was showed to be that if you put this guy on a direct snap and you let him run the ball, he's one of the most dangerous 5 people on the football field at a given time. And that is special. And I don't think you get that from a Josh Johnson or anybody who can run. I think you only get that from certain guys. And I think Kyler Murray, as special as Lamar is, I think Kyler Murray can approach those levels of being special. I think he has the ability in him. It's all about whether he's going to make that jump and make that leap or be able to be pushed there. Nice troll, Jay Will, but we'll see what happens in the future.
So Kyler, I feel like
Baker are going to have great careers.
I mean, Kyler, he, I get what you're saying. If he was in a similar system to what we run, sure, I could see him having a lot more success. Absolutely. But I think what we're discounting here is Lamar's leadership, which I'm just not sure if, people would actually buy into Kyler. I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people like talk about his height and stuff, but I just feel like his diminutive stature would take away from like a power, a QB power run or something, because Lamar is like a power runner, and of course he's elusive and he has all these crazy moves and he's able to move out of the way. But I feel like if we were to do that with Kyler Murray, it just wouldn't be I feel like he would not take the extra yardage like Lamar does. And I don't know, I just couldn't see it as successful. You know what I mean?
It would be different. It wouldn't be the exact same thing.
Yeah.
As far as Kyler Murray as a leader, I think winning helps. Anybody's a great leader when they're winning. Jay Cutler was a great leader for like 2 years when he was winning. Like winning helps. In Oklahoma, nobody questioned his leadership because he was winning. With Baker Mayfield, he was a great leader until the team started losing. People were revering his leadership style and all these myths and legends that came up about his leadership style. Then teams start to stink, and now we're questioning it. So
I think the big thing with Murray's more quiet, right? Murray, it is more of a quiet demeanor, which is, not everybody has to be outspoken.
And Lamar's not talking.
No, he's not
a rah-rah guy.
No, he's not a rah-rah guy, but his team, and he's very humble, right? I think that's why it seemed like he's always looking to praise the other. That's where I think that's what one of his better attributes is. That's why people usually get attracted to him, because he like perfect example. He broke the record, Michael Vick, right? He throws a pass to Mandrews, and he ties the franchise record for most TDs for a tight end. First thing he did was get that ball. No, you keep that ball, man. Congratulations. Like that is him.
He's for the team.
I think that's why the team gravitates to him. Now, segueing to Baker, I do think Baker. My biggest fear with Baker is because I love Baker. By the way, I thought he should have been the first-round pick. I was not happy that he was a Brown because I didn't want to see him in our division. For everybody that's bashing Baker, which I have this year because I'm surprised how much he has regressed. I think my problem with Baker is when you're winning, it's easy to be a leader, unless you're Big Ben. And I'm afraid that Baker can learn from that.
You should have brought Tony on, man.
I know. Well, I had Tony next week.
All right, cool.
I'm afraid, me and Quincy told this to Tony, I'm afraid that Baker can tilt that line, right? Being a little bit of a jackass sometimes. And that can rub people the wrong way. That is the thing that I'm worried about Baker. Again, I think if I'm going with what I see, the problem with Baker is it sometimes tries to force one side too much. And what I see for the games, I haven't watched as much as you, obviously, Quincy. But when I see him, he usually stares a lot of and I think that's the reason why he has a 1-to-1 TD to interception ratio.
2 quick points. As far as Kyler Murray is, I think Kyler and Lamar have a lot in common as far as personality goes. Just because Kyler Murray, I think he is probably one of the most selfless guys, I think, that are probably quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, if you go back and you hear the quotes from his teammates, and especially hear the things that Baker Mayfield had to say about Kyler Murray when they were teammates, and how Baker was just so ecstatic for Kyler's success in Oklahoma, as he broke all of his records. Baker even said he's going to break all of those records and he's not even going to say a word. Kyler's a good dude like that. Yeah. Kyler, if he had the level of success around him, I think he would be somebody that people would gravitate to. He's not a talker. He's not a quote guy, but I think he is one of those guys that people would, build around. Well, rally around. But as far as Baker, the thing with Baker, like with one read, right, that people have been going to, you have to watch how many steps he's going off the drop when he does that. And I don't know if you guys seen the Brett Coleman video, the Ballard to Baker Mayfield. If you haven't, check it out. It does a better job describing this issue to you than I would be able to in a condensed amount of time. But Baker Mayfield, since he's shorter, essentially he has to take an extra half step when he drops back in order to see more of the field, because the further away you're from the offensive lineman, the more depth you have, the more field you can see. The problem with that is the more depth you have, the more depth you have, and the quicker you make that depth, the easier it makes the edge rushers job in order to get you. Which, if you guys watch the Browns, the Browns have had terrible job containing edge rushers. So a lot of times what happens, they'll send Baker on a 5-step drop. It's really like a 6-step drop. He's going back so far that by the time he's able to look at that first read and he's on his last drop, he's already about to get sacked or he's going to have to be bounced, right? So the appearance is, he's making his one read and he's bouncing out the pocket. When in reality, he only had time to make the one read because
they don't give him a check down.
An offense that's designed for the things you got to work around for a quarterback of his size. I think the success that happened in 2018, I think they honestly, I'm not trying to throw shade on Freddie Kitchens, they stumbled into that. They stumbled into all of those concepts because if you know what happened there, pretty much Freddie Kitchens had a meeting with all of his best offensive players and said, what plays do you like the most? It just happened the plays they like the most are the plays they could actually get off because they're not 5-step drops. And they had success, and then when this season started, they didn't understand why that success happened. They just thought they got magically better, and they added all this crap in with all these 5- and 7-step drops to Odell Beckham over the top, and they wondered for 8 more weeks why this is going wrong, and then they figured it out, and now they're out the playoffs. So nobody's motivated because they put Super Bowl expectations.
So, Sonny, can I answer Samuel L. Jackson's question?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it here too.
Okay,
for Quincy to know,
because I know it says it's for Quincy, but I also want to put my 2 cents in. I don't believe Lamar would have been Lamar if he was on the Browns, to be honest with you. A big reason why Lamar has been able to be the MVP this season is because we've actually said, okay, we're going to build the team around you and we're going to play to your strengths and just lead us. And he, credit to him, he's been able to do that. But Baker, I actually liked him going to the Browns. I was actually hoping he wouldn't go to the Browns, like you said, Sonny, because I really liked Baker, and I'm like, damn, I don't want to play this guy twice a year, but I just don't, in my opinion, I don't think that Lamar would have, because just imagine, what would the Browns have done with head coach? They were coming off of Hugh Jackson and, the whole, Greg Williams, and I just don't know if it would have been the right coaching staff for Lamar for him to succeed. I just don't think it would have been the same.
To add 2 cents before Quincy goes, Lamar got a little blessed to be in Baltimore because also Harbaugh made the right decision on firing Marty Morgan. Right?
Oh yeah,
that was key. And say, here, Giro, you take the keys. That, if we want to really pinpoint to what made the difference was when Harbaugh told Marty, I need you to step down. I want Giro to take the reins of offensive coordinator. That, and then also Lamar putting the work on the offseason. Those 2 things, I think, are the key of this season. Go ahead, Quincy.
Yeah. People who do this thing, and it's common, with NFL teams and all that to go, oh my God, everybody should draft Tom Brady #1 overall in 2000. We know this don't work like that. Situations have a lot to do with a quarterback's success. And oh God, Lamar Jackson going to a Hugh Jackson system probably would have been the worst. Hugh Jackson forces everybody to be a pocket passer because Hugh Jackson, to quote Hugh Jackson, who's on his media run again, by the way, which is hilarious. Hugh Jackson is a strong believer in my offense, the Hugh Jackson offense, as he would say in third person in press conferences, And when you're 1-15, what he was like 3-33, 3-33 as a head coach, and you're still doing third person. It shows you what you are. And then also, the offensive coordinator that year was Todd Haley, and if Hugh Jackson forces every quarterback he ever has to try to be like Carson Palmer, Todd Haley forces every quarterback he's ever had to try to be like Big Man. That's why Baker looked like garbage for the first 8 weeks of that season when they were running the full offense is because Todd Haley was trying to have him be Ben Roethlisberger when Baker's not Ben Roethlisberger. He's not the same type of player. And Hugh Jackson was saying, no, you guys got it wrong. We need to throw some of these Carson Palmer plays out here, baby. You know, like in that kind of a situation, I would feel bad for Lamar. And it's not good for football if Lamar was in that situation. And let's be real about this, 100% real about this. The Lamar Jackson thing, nobody saw this coming this fast, this hot, this heavy. Not even the Baltimore Ravens, because they traded back into the first round after they drafted a tight end to get Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. They were taking a calculated risk, and it turned out to be one hell of a bet. Yep. And congratulations to them. That's how good teams make money. But, you know, let's also be real about this. If you think the Browns are going to draft him number 1 overall, like nobody was drafting Lamar Jackson number 1 overall that year because nobody could see what this could be. And it took the dude whose brother coached Colin Kaepernick, who had Greg Roman coaching Colin Kaepernick in that same coaching staff, and the guy who was across the field in the Super Bowl when Colin Kaepernick made it, who saw, dude, if Jim would have ran this ball with Colin Kaepernick more, we wouldn't have been able to do nothing about that. And he had to prepare for that. And he knew, oh, Lamar Jackson, if I just run the ball with him 9 to 15 times a game, ain't nobody got no answer for that and what the things he could do after he gets loose. Because Colin Kaepernick, like we forget, his arm was an issue, you know, later on in his career when they didn't let him run as much. But like at the beginning, when he started doing that read option out the pistol, similar to what Lamar Jackson's doing right now, he was throwing some ropes to some butt booty naked open tight ends and wide receivers, and he was making that thing move.
He had a laser. Yeah, he had a laser.
He was killing people.
The only reason they were in that game was because of the damn lights.
Yeah. Oh, the lights went out, right?
Killed the momentum.
Yeah, we were killing him.
And then when the Ravens were up, and then the 49ers made a comeback.
We were up 28-6, and then they ended up coming back, and then 34-31 was the final.
Yeah, then they threw the ball to Michael Crabtree 4 times.
Okay, so
who ended up the Ravens?
Was like, I should have ran at least one damn read option.
Yeah.
Before we keep going, again, Quincy's channel, which is Worst Take. Now you know why he, it's in the description below. Also, guys, there's a video going on my channel right now for Lamar Jackson giveaway jersey. So be sure to comment and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed.
Yes, sir.
So it's gonna be giveaways tomorrow, and I'm hoping to ship it first thing Saturday. So hopefully you can get there before Christmas.
Participate in it, or else I'm gonna win the jersey.
Quincy's banned for that. No. So let's now talk Ravens Browns.
Oh God.
I think this game, and I hate. Nuvo knows I hate predicting blowouts, but I cannot see this game being close. The Ravens are going to be motivated because they heard all the yapping. We still hear it. Anytime I comment something, if there's a Browns fan, they were like, "Oh yeah, but we beat you at 40, whatever."
40-25. Don't forget.
By this time, I'm like, "Okay, that was your Super Bowl, buddy. That is your Super Bowl. Good for you." So obviously the Ravens are going to be motivated because, we want to beat you guys. And I think you're missing in my opinion, best player in that team, Myles Garrett. I think he is the best player, not only in the defense, I think overall, he is one of the best rushers in the league. And the other thing is, I don't know how motivated the players for the Browns. At this point, you basically don't want to get hurt. That would jeopardize next year's team. So all that, and obviously if we win, we clinch the AFC. I cannot see my team losing. So, but I want to know, what is your take about this game, Week 16, Ravens, Clowns?
We just played the slightly worse version of, not the slightly worse, the worst version of the Baltimore Ravens. And they ran that thing all up and down on Cleveland, and the Browns had no answer for it offensively. Here's the thing about this week's game. I I can easily see this being a blowout, right? Because the Browns haven't stopped the run with mediocre teams. Why would they stop the run with actually like elite level, historically good team? But it wouldn't be the most. It would probably be the most Browns thing ever. Is that the one game they showed up to? And this team does play up to the competition level at times. So I wouldn't be surprised on either front. But here's the thing with the Baltimore Ravens that I don't feel like people are talking about enough, and I don't think people are talking about it because a lot of the conversation about the Baltimore Ravens is this magical blueprint, that people think they're going to find, right? Mm-hmm. What's the blueprint to the Baltimore Ravens? How do we solve this Baltimore? There's no blueprint. Lamar Jackson's really good. Like you can't solve that thing. Bill Belichick ain't going to plug in 3 guys and then put 2 guys over here and then just solve the problem with the Baltimore Ravens like he did with the LA Rams, because at the end of the day, Jared Goff wasn't good. Lamar Jackson is very good. He's not being propped up. He's a good passer. He is an amazing runner. That's like trying to come up with a blueprint for Nick Chubb. Like, no, it's not going to happen. He's just good at running the ball. You just got to try to get back there and stop him. But with the Baltimore Ravens, if there is a way to try to beat them or have a chance with them, I think probably one of the best teams that have the best chances is the Kansas City Chiefs. And here's why. It's because I think if you let the Ravens get those 5-7 yard gashes on the ground like they normally do, get so easily, and you let them score that way early, and you can keep up with them and score points with them that way, I think you give yourself more of a chance because you can tire them out maybe outlast them because they're having to run the ball. But I think people will try to trip over their feet against the Ravens because they try so hard to stop the run. That's going to happen. Lamar going to get the edge no matter what you scheme up. Mark Ingram's going to get 7 yards on the inside run because he's just running possessed at this point. Like, that's going to happen. You can't commit too many guys to that. And when you do that, you make things way easier for the Baltimore Ravens because then Mark Andrews is running open for 15 yards. Hayden Hurst is down the field, and all Lamar Jackson got to do is toss it to him because there's nobody in his vicinity. I think that's where teams trip themselves over. If you just play them straight up, let them get all the production on the ground they're going to have, as long as you can score with them, you actually have a better – like if for people who watch highlights, they don't understand why the Browns won that game. The reason the Browns won that game is because – the Browns just were able to put points up every time Baltimore was. And eventually, luck broke the wrong way for Baltimore. It was the Mark Ingram fumble. Lamar threw a couple interceptions at the end of the game. Those turnovers, and then the Nick Chubb run and Tony Jefferson, again, playing awful, kind of opened that thing up. But if you can score with the Ravens and keep up with them, then you have a chance to beat them. When you focus on trying to stop the offense and slow down the run, that's when you end up looking like a fool because there's no stopping that. And you commit too many guys, and Lamar Jackson throws 4 touchdowns because you've made it way too easy for a dude who is a good passer. I think people forget Lamar Jackson can pass the ball. This wasn't a mystery. I said this at the beginning of the season. Even while I was being called a hater, Lamar Jackson is a good passer. He's going to make a Pro Bowl. Now, I was underwhelmed on that, right? The Pro Bowl, he's an MVP candidate. Mm-hmm. But people forget that he could pass the ball. And if you leave him wide open wide receivers, Lamar Jackson is going to find him and throw that ball to him in stride, and they're going to score way easier than they would have if they had to run 4 read options. So if you want to beat the Ravens, you really do have to keep up with them offensively. And I think the only team that can do that is probably the Kansas City Chiefs, and they haven't been the Kansas City Chiefs of lately. I think the reason the Patriots are one of the worst fits to try to beat the Baltimore Ravens is because they can't score and they can't stop the run. You have no hope. And that's why they got blown out, and they play them again. I'm pretty sure they're going to get blown out again because there's no level of genius that's going to fix that they can't score the ball to keep up the Baltimore Ravens.
Hey, shout out to Tony Jefferson. Sorry, go ahead.
Before Nuvo, because I want to get your take on the Ravens Browns game. I love how Quincy just went for what do you think is going to happen, and he just went through any team that he can beat.
The beatdown is not interesting. What happened this week is not interesting for anybody to watch. I'm even putting up a preview video for this week.
I'm watching and I'm enjoying it.
This is not going to be interesting. Did you see how easy Joe Mixon got 135 yards on the Browns? He wasn't even touched by the first level. You
best
think
game of the year.
the Ravens decide, hey, we're going to throw out RG3?
Oh, yeah.
We gonna just not run Lamar because we don't want him to get injured? Ain't no damn way the Browns will come out with this one. Like, I'm just gonna be real. Like, if it happens, it's unexpected, and I'm not the only one who didn't expect it. But anything can happen in the NFL, all that jazz. But let's be real, trying to break this thing down and wonder what the matchups are gonna be is stupid. Like, there ain't nothing to break down. The Ravens are much better than the Browns this week. They do everything well that the Browns have no chance of stopping and have not stopped at a lower level. They let the Bengals run all over them. They let the Cardinals run all over them. Now you're going to play the prototypical version of all those teams. No, you ain't holding Lamar under 100. We're not holding Mark Ingram under 100. We couldn't hold Ryan Fitzpatrick under 2 rushing touchdowns. What makes people think that we're going to stop this? Like, no. I'm a fan, but I'm a fan of the game, and I'm not naive. I understand what's about to happen this week. I'm going to be here to watch it. So, Sonny, you can get yours back.
The only thing that'll make this game so much sweeter is if it ends 40-25 for the Ravens. Then it will be vindicated.
I would be. I think this might get bad, man.
Honestly, like, when I was watching the Browns against the Cardinals, I'm like, where is the urge? I just didn't feel like, especially from the D-line, like you were mentioning, like, I didn't see any urgency. Like, it just felt like, they're just letting themselves get blocked, and like whatever happens. I just didn't feel any urgency, and I'm like, what happened to these Browns, man? Like, this is crazy.
The worst, Joe, they played better that week than they did against Pittsburgh.
Ooh.
When they play Pitt, like, go back and watch those Pittsburgh highlights. Oh, it's some of the worst defensive football. Like, everybody was on the Duck Hodges meme, but I was watching that game like, dude, if Duck Hodges was playing anything other than his junior varsity Brown defense that he was out here playing.
I wonder what happened to your defense, because even during the year when Baker was struggling, your defense was still balling, right?
Myles Garrett, one hell of a man.
Yeah, he is. What happened to your boy Greedy?
Greedy.
You can't do nothing at the defense. Like, I'm not even going to be hard on the corners. The defensive line, it literally, they get no push. It looks like all the sliders are down in Madden. Like, this is bad. like they don't get any penetration, any push. Carlos Dunlap, I think, has outproduced the Browns on 2 separate occasions in 2 weeks himself. Like, in terms of sacks and tackles for loss. It's been bad. Like, I didn't know that Myles Garrett could make such an impact that he was, that it's this drastic, that it's this severe, that they went from their best defensive line performance. By the way, Myles Garrett wasn't even that productive in that game. His presence alone just changes that much. And they went from that to just one of the worst defensive lines I've seen from this team since '99. Like, it's been Billy Wynn and Phil Taylor were putting more work in than what we got right now. And I'm not even trying to be funny or hyperbolic about the situation. It's been that bad. Joe Mixon was getting 15 yards without being touched. The Arizona Cardinals got whatever they wanted on the ground with Kenyon Drake and David Johnson and Kyler Murray, who are cool, but they don't use them like the Baltimore Ravens use Gus the Bus, Lamar Jackson, and Mark Ingram. So and I don't think Jim Harbaugh's an idiot. I don't think he's going to walk into that game and say, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to throw the ball 40 times and see what happens. No, Jim Harbaugh is going to run that thing up and down, probably with Mark Ingram and Gus, and with is it Gus Johnson or Gus Edwards?
Gus Edwards.
Yeah. Not even really with Lamar. He's probably going to use Lamar like once or twice on the opening drive, and that's pretty much going to be it for Lamar. I don't see him getting more than 9 carries.
So I've been thinking about this for a while, because you said something not too long ago. I wonder what would happen if instead of teams just focusing on trying to stop the run, what if they actually play Lamar like an actual quarterback?
They would have a better chance.
Right? That's what I'm thinking. And so it's like, I feel like the Chiefs, like you said, because they can put up so many points, they're capable of keeping pace with us. They could definitely be the most trouble for us in the AFC. Anybody else, Texans, Patriots, I don't fear them at all, but the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs have no delusion that they're going to stop the run. Like, they've given up on that. Like if you watch them play, they're like, hey, man, it's got to be third down. Yeah. You got to pass the ball eventually. Yeah. Throw to our corners, and then we'll get that work in there. But, you know, the Chiefs, that's why I think the Chiefs match up well. It's because I think they'll go in there being like, all right, Lamar, you can get whatever you want on the ground, baby. But you're not about to get them butt booty naked Mark Andrews plays for 25-yard gashes and all of those things into such. But the X factor in that game is going to be Marcus Peters, because whichever Marcus Peters you get to show up for that game could either be fantastic or meme worthy, because Patrick Mahomes is not the same thing as a Jared Goff.
That is true. Okay, so I think the last topic that I wanted to talk about, and one viewer asked the question, is what do you think the Browns can do to get better next year?
The real answer is, I think there are two things that need to happen. One, I think you need to get more veterans in the right places playing on the team that are leaders on the team and in the locker room. You can get veterans to sit the bench, but you know, we all know there's a difference between when a guy is in, you know, inactive clothes or sitting the bench and trying to be a leader than when that guy's on the actual field. So they need to get veterans to be leaders on the team and on the field. They need to put veterans in the right places. They got a lot of holes to fill this offseason, so they need to fill those holes with some veteran players. I think bringing in a veteran corner, maybe Jimmy Smith, you know, maybe, you know, somebody who's a good leader, been in winning situations, knows what
you'll get him for like 4 games probably.
Hey, you know, maybe he can
shut down though. He'll be locked down for those 4 games. I'll tell you that.
But you know, maybe somebody who can be a leader and all that. All right, Terry, you tag me in everything on Twitter, by the way, Terry. I know you're trolling me, Terry. Everything.
Shout out to my boy Terry. He does tag me too. I love it. Let me put it again there for you.
I was waking up like, why did he tag me? He's trolling me. All right. Anyways, where was I at?
You man, I lost it. What was? Oh, you was talking about Jimmy Smith.
Veteran presence. Yeah, they need to get some veterans in there. Whatever happens with the head coach happens. I don't know if it's going to solve the thing automatically. I think the problems are more with the locker room itself and how that's structured. I think there's been too much of an emphasis on the leadership being Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, and Jarvis Landry, and they're young guys, especially Baker Mayfield, and they're young, passionate players that have a hard time knowing when and when not to let that show. I mean, that shows itself on the field with how they lead. Like, I think if leadership is how the team is emulating your behavior on the field, then they have been clearly leading this team, because that's been one of the main problems with them, is that they've been too emotional and too out of control at times. And maybe that comes with growth and they'll be better next year. I think also what the Browns need to do, and I think this is less about the Browns, less about the offensive side of the ball, well, less about the coaching, less about the decisions that need to be made there. And this needs to be between Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham. They need to take their lack of success this year personal. Between the both of them, they need to understand that it's their fault. It's both their fault. It ain't Freddie Kitchens' fault. You can't sit here and blame it on some kind of assistant. They need to take that personal. They need to spend the entire offseason making sure whatever happened between the two to be out of sync for the entire season, for Odell not to be Odell Beckham the entire season. They need to fix that in the offseason. They need to get on the same page, because we could talk till we're blue in the face about who's the head coach and who's going to be this and what leaders they get in the locker room and all these small semantic things. Let's be real. If Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham get that thing right, nothing is going to stop. Well, not nothing is going to stop that, but that is going to change a lot of things. That is going to make the outlook on this team be completely different. If Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham, no matter what play they're on, are on the same page and know that, hey, if this happens, Odell's going to be wide open, and it doesn't matter if Freddie's scheming it up for Odell to get the ball, so it's got to be perfect for those two. If those two can just have that kind of a connection where it's like, all right, let me just go over with Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton. When Andrew Luck in doubt, throw that thing over top to T.Y. Hilton, see what happens. If they can get that kind of a connection, all the other problems are going to be less. The locker room issues are going to be less because they're going to be winning games. You're going to be winning football games. The other issues with who's not getting the ball, who's doing this, are they running the ball enough? We're leading the league in rushing attempts. People still don't think we're running the ball enough. So that's really going to be the crux of it. They got to get some locker room leadership, and Baker and Odell got to get that right, because that is, potentially a $50 million hole between the two of them, at wide receiver and quarterback, that has to be producing. That has to be money. If Baker and Odell get right, Baker and Jarvis are going to be more dangerous. Baker and whoever his tight end is going to be more dangerous. It's going to matter less what the offensive line does. It's going to matter less what Freddie Kitchens does. It's going to matter less how awful the defense is. Like, Kansas City had awful defense last year. Defensive line got no push. Nobody cared because they were able to put up points. Yep. If you're able to put up points, you're able to win games. A lot of these things that we're talking about aren't going to matter as much. So, for the Cleveland Browns, that's what needs to happen in the offseason. Get some leadership, and then the two leaders on this team, Odell Beckham and Baker Mayfield, need to be leaders, need to be grown men and say, you know what? F everything else. The issues between us, we need to fix those things, and we need to spend a lot of time in the offseason fixing them and, get that right. And if they get that right, it's going to be a lot less things to complain about in Cleveland.
Okay, so guys, before we keep going, if you can hit that like button, we have 94 people watching. Thank you for everybody to watch. And then second, and then Noob, you can take it. So everybody's saying that you should probably trade OBJ. So I'm assuming that you don't want them to trade OBJ.
No, because what are you going to get from trading OBJ that you aren't going to get by just having Odell Beckham on the roster?
The big thing is if you can get something to bolster your O-line.
See, the offensive line thing, it's like, yeah, sure. Do you need to fix it? Yeah, but there are other things that can help the offensive line. This offensive line doesn't get nearly the same amount of chip block, of help blocks that other offensive lines get. So when they're helpless, they really look helpless out there because they're not getting help. That's a scheme thing. I think the offensive line, more than anything, they don't need to be elite. They don't need to be not the Denver Broncos, but the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. They just need competence. And you don't need to trade a star wide receiver to get competence on the offensive line. You just need to get two more competent players. How many Super Bowl winning teams have just had competent offensive lines? Not awesome ones, but you ain't complaining about them. That's all you need from the offensive line. You don't need to invest so much money into the offensive line. You just need to get competence.
I actually agree with you, Quincy, because look at the Ravens, for example. We have Patrick McCarry as their starting center after Matt Skura went down in the Rams game. And let's not forget, Matt Skura was also undrafted. So it's just like we're plugging and playing these guys, and then they turn out to be really good because of the scheme, because of just how, and of course it helps to have like Marshall Yanda next to him, of course. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like maybe the O-line, it could use some help for the Browns, but it's a little bit overblown. I think if the scheme was a little bit better, if they actually helped him out, maybe it wouldn't be as bad, and they could actually succeed.
Left tackles of all time playing for the
Cleveland Browns that too.
For 10 years. And the offensive lines for those teams still sucked because the Browns weren't giving the other guys who weren't great, or they weren't getting other competent guys on the offensive line. You can spend a ton of money trying to get Trent Williams here or drag whatever's left of him out here, but you need competence. You don't need superstars on the offensive line. You don't, because honestly, who's had the best offensive line in football? The Dallas Cowboys. Have they won a playoff game with that offensive line? No.
They have Dakota Prescott.
But somehow the Patriots won the Super Bowl twice in that same time period with Nate Solder as their left tackle.
He got paid.
He got paid in New York, and now he's on his own without scheme, without things helping him out. He's trash. So, it's really like, I'm not trying to say offensive line is not important or that these things don't matter, but there are other ways to help your offensive line than spending a bunch of money on the best possible offensive lineman or trading your best wide receiver for a good offensive lineman. I think you can keep Odell and fix the offensive line very easily. I think trading one to solve the other would be kind of stupid in my mind. Like, I would be mad at John Dorsey if that's the decision that he made, because I think you could do one without the other.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Noobs?
Well, yeah, I just wanted also, Joshua, I know I'm not trying to, discredit our O-line. I know it's great. Obviously, Stanley Brown. Oh, sorry, you guys hear that loud-ass motorcycle outside? Anyway.
Oh, Joe, that was a fart.
It might have been. I was just trying to cover up. No, but I'm just saying, I know Stanley Brown, Yanda, they're all great. I'm not at all taking away from them. They've been awesome. And by the way, Bradley Bozeman, Sonny, you got to give credit, man.
I have been giving credit to him. I think he's been playing great.
But all I'm saying is that you also have to give credit to the coaches and to the schemes and everything for the fact that we're able to plug in Patrick McCarry, who's an undrafted rookie, and it's like there's no drop-off from Matt Skura to Patrick McCarry. Huh, Sonny? Would you agree with me on that?
Yes. I mean, McCarry was struggling in the last game with the snaps. But yeah, I mean, you didn't get a big drop back when McCarry was there, which was my biggest fear. McCarry can hold his own. Yeah.
But no, anyway, so what were we talking about before this?
Oh, Odell Beckham being traded.
Oh, okay. So what I want to look out for is what I'm interested in is the Humphrey OBJ rematch coming up here. I'm going to be interested to see that because last time OBJ really, I mean, I don't know if you think he started the fight or not, or if Marlon Humphrey started the fight. I'm sure we think that OBJ started the fight
for sure.
But that was like one of the times that you actually saw OBJ acting, as his reputation precedes him. But I have been, impressed by OBJ that he hasn't like gone off the rails. So credit there.
Yeah, I mean, like OBJ, like honestly, this whole year, everything that's been negative about him has been things that have been reported that he's had to deny that aren't true. But as far as the Odell, the one fun thing about the Odell and Marlon Humphrey situation, it's like everything is okay until the Steelers get involved with something, right? Because like the Odell and Marlon Humphrey thing happened. He choked him. Maybe he didn't, whatever. Nobody from either side was saying, oh, my God, Odell could have died. Marlon Humphrey should be in jail.
Right.
Oh, he should never play football again, because we're both fan bases that can control ourselves. But then, let that happen to Steeler fans. And now they're claiming second-degree assault on Myles Garrett because a football fight happened, which is hilarious to me. But that's why nobody likes this.
But that was a little bit further than what happened over there with Marlon and OBJ.
I mean, they lost their head, both of them. Like with the Marlon and OBJ thing, it's just they got in a situation where they just lost their cool. And fought each other for a little bit, and then Marlon Humphreys, apparently he is an OG. Don't nobody want no arguments with Marlon Humphrey in the locker room. I bet he ends a lot of those because he got on top of him and did the double.
Yeah. He was like,
older brother, I ain't doing this no more.
The funny thing, Quincy, is we had not seen that from Marlon at all since he been here in Baltimore. Only that time.
If you don't quiet ones, they remember what they used to tell you in school? Don't mess with that boy in the back who don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Pop up out that chair and choke you. He got that Serge Ibaka in him. You ever see Serge Ibaka?
Yeah.
Where just Serge would be cool. I saw this way the Raptors were playing the Cavs, I think, last year. Serge was cool. And then somebody said something to him. And next thing I know, he is choking out this young gentleman on the backboard.
Yeah.
He block him, man. I like it block him.
But, it's football.
Okay. Well, so Quincy, thank you. Joe, do you want to add anything else?
No, you're good. Go ahead, man. Go for it.
I was going to say thank you for joining. Before we go, where they can find you, a lot of the guys are saying that you seem to be a good guy. So first of all, the description below, there's the channel, but where they can find you, Quincy?
You can find me at youtube.com/Quincy Carrier. And if you don't want to do that, just go to your YouTube search bar and search for the name that you see in the corner here. If you want to see me in real life, tough luck. I'm gonna be at the movie theater watching Star Wars more than
You're not
likely.
gonna watch this game?
Well, no. I'm gonna be at the game. I'm gonna be
Okay.
at the game, but as far as tonight, I'm probably gonna see Star Wars tonight.
Okay, good. That's good. I can't wait to see the movie. And guys, what I do want, go look him for in Twitter. He is KWA.
No.
I don't want to mess it up.
KWEN_C. Send your trolls to me. I'm just gonna let you know if you troll me and you got like a Lamar Jackson picture of your account and you ain't got your real face trolling me. Oh, I'm gonna hit that mute button, baby, and I ain't gonna hear nothing you gotta say. So if you gonna troll me, be creative, do more than Baker Mayfield sucks, Baker Mayfield trash. Nah, you gotta be more creative. And if you are creative, I will respond to you and kill your creativity. So, do your best, do your worst, try it all out.
Oh, Quincy, I need to watch this video.
Oh, I did I was wrong about Lamar Jackson video. Okay. He mentions it.
I need to watch the first one, though.
Oh, yeah, the first one, I ain't gonna lie. I was just like pissed about the Browns season. And then the Ravens are coming along, just flexing on everybody. I'm just like,
it's about the clicks, brother. You know what I mean?
It wasn't even about the clicks. Video didn't even do that well.
Obviously, where you can find my boy Joe Nubo and a podcast I do. Again, I want to apologize that yesterday I couldn't make it to the NF podcast. I did talk to Nubo beforehand. But anyway, Joe Nubo, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, man. No, you don't even have to apologize, man. You know what I mean? I already told you. I told you about that. But anyway, so make sure you subscribe to every one of our channels, please. Support Quincy, of course. He's a Browns fan, but he's not too bad. Because, like you said, if you get Lamar trolls, just imagine how many 40 to 25 tweets we get. It's never ending. So hopefully after this week, those will be over and done with.
Wins. So I don't endorse that at all. But also, I want to do one quick thing. See, Sonny is at 907 subscribers.
Yes.
I don't like that. He needs more. He needs 93 more subscribers. He needs to join me and Joe in the 4+ digit club in Engraving. So we need to get him there. Baltimore, y'all got no excuse. Y'all team is doing good. Y'all better hit that subscribe button. And if you don't hit the subscribe button, I got a hammer right here, and I'll break it down on every single one of you. So if you have the audacity to tweet me, trolling me after this butt whipping I told y'all the Browns are going to take, and you not subscribe to Sonny, I'm going to find you. I'm going to get your IP address, and I'm going to get your front door with the hammer, and I'm going to break it down unless you subscribe to Sonny. If you subscribe to Sonny, you're safe. But if you didn't, you out. And then also, if you ain't got the notifications, hit down on his channel. We got problems.
That is important. That is
bell.
important.
Don't forget the bell.
Nope.
I will say, guys, a lot of you have told me like, oh, the giveaway video, I didn't get an alert. You have to hit the bell. If you don't hit the bell, YouTube doesn't care if you're subscribed or not. If you have the bell, then they will tell you. If not, they're like, sometimes we're not.
I get people every week when I do my Q&A video. My questions don't ever get answered because you asked them 30 minutes before I uploaded the video. The video was already shot. You didn't have the notifications on. Ring the notification bell. Subscribe to szg Sports. Subscribe to Joe Nubo. Subscribe to Quincy Carrier, or else I'm gonna be at your door with the hammer. And that is what they call in the business a hard sell.
There we go. I love it. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Next week is gonna be Christmas week, so I'm gonna be in Puerto Rico from the 25th to the 3rd of January, going to my hometown. So follow me on IG. You're gonna see a lot of pictures. I'm gonna upload a vlog video of everything that happened during that trip. Saying that is gonna be less uploads during that week, which it doesn't matter. Week 17 is a wasted week because we already locked everything up. And the other thing we have is the wild card, which we obviously don't participate because that's only for people that barely made the playoffs, not for the people.
All right.
I did it just for you, Quincy. I did it just for you. Anyway, thank you for taking the light.
Right here, first of all, if Tony's watching, if Tony ever listens to this channel, Tony, you ain't making the playoffs, baby. You still ain't making the playoffs. The Steelers are not making the playoffs.
I'm bringing him to
for the Steelers. Now, I don't care if the Browns make the playoffs because they ain't. they're technically not they're eliminated. All right, but the Steelers, oh, y'all about to be down there with us, crabs in a bucket. The only people getting out is the Ravens this year. So Steelers fans, y'all not getting out. I'm hating. I don't care.
I think they're making the playoffs, Quincy.
Huh? The Steelers?
Yeah.
Titans about to make the playoffs.
But if the Titans lose this week to
they got
Saints,
the Saints, man,
and if
the
they
Texans.
beat the Jets, no,
Saints like random games. Saints always lose a random game.
I know, but look, if the Steelers beat the Jets,
I have them losing that game actually,
and the Titans lose to the Aints,
the Steelers about to lose to the Jets.
Oh well,
I think so too. Yeah. Tomlin always has a letdown game. This is it.
Yeah. And it's like, let's be real. Come on, guys. It's not like they got a short thing at quarterback. They got Duck. Okay, Duck's not a guaranteed win over the New York Jets. And you know what? Sam Darnold might have one of those days where he decides to be the second overall or the third overall pick of the draft that he was, and he might actually look decent. And Le'Veon Bell playing against the Steelers, you think he's not motivated? You think he's trying to go off 200?
Forgot about that. You have a point. Well, we'll see. That should be an interesting game as well. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Next video for me. Well, be in tune. Tomorrow I'm going to be throwing all social media who won the giveaway. My next video is probably coming Sunday and Monday. So up to then, stay cool. Go Ravens. Browns suck. Big trust. See you the next time.
He went big.
Big trust.
You got to put the